Hey, what I wanted to touch you guys about today, um, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the election and whether Trump won legitimately or Kamala Harris won. And the Senate's talking about doing an audit of the election, but they can't really do anything because the Republicans are in charge. So we can only hope that they get the House or the Senate back in 2026.
About the article by Greg Palast claiming that Donald Trump actually lost the 2024 election, that there were millions of votes stolen by Donald Trump, and that were it not for that, Kamala Harris would be and really is the rightful winner of the 2024 election. Now, let me start just by laying out my standard. When it comes to elections, objectivity is a necessity. In 2020, we had these allegations of voter fraud, election fraud that dominated the headlines. Trump and his allies said Trump really won. Biden stole it through widespread fraud involving 5, 6, 7 different mechanisms. And at the time, what I said is I will scrutinize the claims. I didn't dismiss them out of hand. I looked at them. I demanded evidence. I applied rigorous standards to separate fact from fiction and hyperbole and conjecture from sober analysis. And I determined Joe Biden genuinely won the 2020 election. So now we're looking at the 2024 election. It's a similar situation, but the roles are reversed. And there are some making allegations of voter fraud and voter suppression against Trump's victory, arguing that Harris is the rightful winner. And we have to analyze it in the exact same way. Now, there's a piece by Greg Palast making these claims that's going viral. And I care about election fairness. I care about election objectivity. And I care about being honest with you. So we have to look at Greg Palast's recent article, Trump Lost, Vote Suppression Won, and analyze the claim, which says that voter suppression tactics ranging from purging voter rolls to the disqualification of mail-in ballots cost Kamala Harris the presidency. We have to look at these claims one by one.
Now, see this? This is a 400-ounce bar of solid gold. Back in the 20s, this could buy you a decent.
Now, I do suggest that you read the entire article, maybe even pause this video now and read the entire article, because I'm going to summarize what the article says. The article, in a simplified format, argues that restrictive voting laws, purged voter rolls, and disqualified ballots disproportionately affected voters of color, costing Kamala Harris millions of votes such that she otherwise would have won. The numbers that Palast cites are 4.7 million voters purged from the rolls, 2.1 million mail-in ballots disqualified, 1.2 million provisional ballots rejected, among other figures. And he argues that black voters were 900% more likely to have their ballots rejected than white voters, based on a study by the U.S. Civil Rights Commission. The totality of the effect that Palast claims these mechanisms had is that without those suppression tactics, Kamala Harris would have won. She would have won the popular vote by 1.2 million votes, and she would have received 286 electoral votes by flipping states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Here's the main problem that I find as I analyze each claim. A lot of the people reporting on this are just taking Greg Palast's claims and saying, look at what happened. But Greg Palast does not provide compelling evidence for his calculations nor sourcing for the data as relevant to 2024. Let me explain. Greg Palast's article raises valid concerns about voter suppression, and several of his key claims point to real issues in general. But the specific numbers that he uses, and especially how he uses to claim that Harris really won, are based sometimes on outdated information, sometimes on questionable extrapolation, and sometimes on exaggerated numbers. Let me break it down. For example, Greg Palast says that a study by the U.S. Civil Rights Commission claims black voters are 900% more likely to have ballots rejected than white voters. This is significantly higher than every other reputable study looking at the same thing. I'll give you an example. A 2020 study by Daniel Smith, who's a political scientist at University of Florida, found that Black and Hispanic voters are twice as likely to have ballots rejected than white voters. That's a disaster. That's a very troubling disparity. But if you assume for a moment that among those disqualified and purged ballots, Black and Hispanic voters are only 100% more likely, rather than 900% more likely to have ballots rejected, the entire argument is immediately undermined. His case that Harris really won evaporates if you say, yes, Black and Hispanic voters are more likely to have ballots rejected, but only by 100%, not by 900%. You've all of a sudden got no argument. Secondly, Palast is basing a lot of this calculation on a 2008 MIT study that estimates a mail-in ballot rejection rate of 2.9% and the potential lost vote rate as high as 21% if ballots that are requested but never returned are included. But that's 15-year-old data. It doesn't reflect the fact that in the last 60 years, mail-in voting systems have been dramatically improved. We went through COVID and an overwhelming increase in voting from home. And in 2020, the rejection rate was only 0.8%. In 2016, the rejection rate was only 1%. So once again, Greg Palast is saying, let's assume the rejection rate of 15 years ago. And if we do that, and you accept every other claim, maybe what he's arguing is valid, maybe. But we have much more recent data. And if we say, let's assume a rejection rate similar to 2020, his case is no longer valid. This is what we have to really look at. This would be like me saying, I don't think you should get a certain treatment for a disease because the treatment is only 20% effective. But that's the efficacy of a treatment that was around 20 years ago. If right now
Now, what we're faced with is some more election interference hyperbole. You know, a lot of people are saying that Kamala Harris won the election and Donald Trump didn't win. Hey, Aquarius. Yeah, thank you for joining me, Aquarius. You know, a lot of people say that Donald Trump didn't win or he somehow, or him or Elon Musk rigged the election, which I haven't really seen the evidence on. So I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure if that's real or fake. But I mean, if you look at this clip that's going viral on TikTok, that that Donald Trump admitted to rigging the election. I mean, that clip has already got over 1 million views. So I don't know if he actually rigged the election or if that clip was somehow altered. But I mean, I voted for RFK Jr., which I do wish I would have voted for Kamala instead, because you have the adage, if you vote for RFK Jr., that's a vote for Trump, and that was actually the case this time around because because RFK dropped out of the election, and he was trying to get his name removed off the ballots in some battleground states, and they wouldn't do it. So quite literally, if you voted for RFK, it was a vote for Trump. And I wish now that I would have voted for Kamala Harris, because some of the things I've heard about RFK over the past 3 weeks, like he wants to make it to where if you're on food stamps, You can't buy any type of junk food on food stamps. It has to be healthy food. And he has this coalition called MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. And he wants to make it to where if you're on SNAP, which is basically food stamps, he wants to make it to where, like pop, chips, ice cream, like Little Debbie dessert cakes would be ineligible for purchase on food stamps. And he actually made the comment, if you want to eat unhealthy, do it on your own dime. Thank you, Heather. He wants to make it to where it's very hard to purchase junk food while on food stamps. And he actually legit made the statement, if you want to eat unhealthy, do it on your own dime. And see, there's a lot of people that don't understand. They've heard Donald Trump state that he has nothing to do with Project 2025. But if you actually go back and look at some of these executive orders that he's writing and passing, which I don't think he's writing, because and that's a shame. Well, no, Heather, they actually have it's food stamps reform. Basically, they want to make sure that kids have SNAP, but at the same time, they don't want you buying junk food on it. Now, they are talking about doing massive cuts to Medicaid, because Trump wants these Trump tax cuts that were from 2017. He wants that permanent. So they're looking at anything and everything that they could deduct, so they could Trump pass these tax cuts that would be permanent for the ultra rich and the billionaires and the donors. But yeah, like Musk and this Doge thing going on. Doge is Elon Musk, and he has like six, six, barely 20 volunteers. They've already dismantled the USAID, which basically helps like third world countries with food and aid and everything else. So that they've gutted that and they've dismantled it, and now they're looking at the Department of Education. They want to dismantle the Department of Education, the federal Department of Education, and they want to send it back to the states. It's not extremely frustrating, or is it? Or is it extremely frustrating? But see, we've seen how Donald Trump sent Roe v. Wade back to the states, and how much of a headache it's been since then. And he's wanting to do the same thing with the Department of Education. He wants to dissolve the federal Department of Education, and he wants to send that back to the states. And it's just going to be a headache. And he wants some type of merit block grant program for the schools. And I mean, yeah, it's frustrating. My daughter, she's special needs. She's in special ed, so this may affect her special ed schooling, and which is going to royally tick me off. But I mean, if you go back and look at it, Heather, the Project 2025 is a 900 some odd page document. Is basically called the Mandate for Leadership. And how Trump stated originally, he had no part of it. It's is too extreme for him. Well, if you go back and look at his executive orders, those are straight out of the Project 2025. Like ending birthright citizenship, that's straight out of Project 2025. Dismantling the the federal agencies, that's in Project 2025. And he wants to dismantle the Department of Education, which is in Project 2025. There was 94 Democratic congressmen and women that went to the Federal Department of Education there in Washington, D.C. And they were denied entrance into the Department of Education. There was a guy standing out front. He refused to let them in. And mind you, there's 94 Democratic congressmen and women wanting to get in so they could talk to the acting director of the DOE, and they were denied entrance. And the acting director actually called the Homeland Security Police on the Democratic congressman, and one of them, Maxwell Frost, he's a junior congressman out of Florida, and he's a Democrat. Well, he's a progressive Democrat, and he went on Twitter and basically expressed his concerns about how they would not let the congressmen and women into the Department of Education. Elon Musk actually tweeted to Maxwell Frost and basically said that department does not exist. So Elon Musk is basically admitting that they're trying to dismantle the Department of Education. A lot of Trump's executive orders have been getting blocked by federal judges, especially like the spending freeze, which actually got lifted today by a different federal judge. Yeah, because this is not a governing president. He's doing everything that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. Oh, I'm going to be a dictator for a day. Well, yeah, it's not going to be just a day that he's a dictator. Oh, that's cool. He's not just going to be a dictator for one day. This is the first time, during the inauguration, I've heard of an inaugural ball. They basically partied for a week during the inauguration, and the inauguration committee actually designed the inauguration after the British royal monarchy, because when there's a new king or queen crowned over in Great Britain, they party. They party for a week, and that's exactly how the inauguration committee had this inauguration set up. Set up like the British monarchy. So, did we swear in a president, or did we coronate a king? Because I don't know if you watched the inauguration, Heather, but when he went to do the swearing in, Melania was standing there holding the Bibles, and Trump's left hand was not on the Bibles. He raised his right hand, but his left hand was not on the Bible. His left hand was down to the side. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on that a lot of people are saying that we're on a bullet train towards the end of days, which I don't know. I try not to think about that type of stuff, but if you look at it, um, and there is a Democratic congressman that actually introduced articles of impeachment against Trump because of his um, statements about the Palestinians not being allowed back in Gaza. Basically, that's ethnic cleansing, and the only reason why Trump wants the United States to occupy Gaza Strip is so he wants to build a luxury resort by the ocean there in Gaza. So he wants to basically disperse 2.1 million people, so he can build a luxury resort by the sea there in Gaza, and that's not really his idea. That's Jared Kushner's idea because Jared Kushner, yeah, has been in Trump's ear, and Trump had, like, literally backed off of it for a while, and then Jared Kushner mentioned something again, so he's all gung ho for it again. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Heather, and I'm just not liking it. Yeah, I watch a lot of his niece, Mary Trump. She's really really spot on, and I watched one of her videos that Donald may have dementia. Yeah, he may have dementia because if you look when he if you look when he um was visiting Gavin Newsom there in California when Gavin Newsom met him on the tarmac because Trump was ignoring Gavin Newsom's phone calls. That little lean that Trump did, when he was leaning, Mary Trump stated that's the first signs of onset dementia, and Donald Trump's dad, he had dementia to the point that uh, he didn't know where he was, and he was so used to working all of his life. Yeah, he was so used to working all of his life, and they would just bring him in, sit him down, and you know, bring him in, set him down, and he would just sign papers all day, not knowing what the papers are. But he was so used to like signing papers and doing business. Um, they would like legit bring him into his office, set him down at his desk, and just he'd sign papers all day. And he was such in far dementia, he didn't know what the papers were. He just thought he was doing his job. So I'm wondering if the same thing's happening with Trump. Because if you look at it, a lot of the executive orders, like he signed what 400 executive orders in like 3.5 weeks, and of course they were all somehow tied to Project 2025. They were, and all he did was just sign them, and he would have to have somebody to read them to him. Not like every time he signed one, someone would have to read what the executive order was before he signed it. So it's just scary. And then, of course, we had the Super Bowl this past Sunday. Go Eagles! My team wasn't in it, but I went ahead and rooted for the Eagles. And Trump actually left left early from the Super Bowl. He was the very first American president to attend the Super Bowl live. He left because Taylor Swift was there. And as soon as he left, he jumped on Truth Social and started blasting Taylor Swift because she got booed at the Super Bowl. And it wasn't and what I think it was, he said MAGA don't forget. What I think it was is, she used to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but I think what it was, since she's dating Travis Kelce and she's now for the Chiefs, it was just the Eagles fans booing her because she was going for the Chiefs, and the Eagles fans wanted the Eagles to win. But I mean, he walked out onto the field before the game. He was booed. There was some people that booed for him. I mean, not very many. So you had people that booed for Taylor Swift, and you also had people booing Donald Trump. So, but yeah, part of a lot of what's in Project 2025. I'm not. Yeah, I read most of the 925-page document. I can't read it all, but the chief architect of Project 2025, Russell Vogt, has just been confirmed as the director of the Office of Management and Budget. So you have the chief architect of Project 2025 in the highest position there in DC, who has control of budget and management. And just like Pete Hegseth, he's a former Fox News contributor, and he wanted the military housing for the Secretary of Defense. He went out and paid $49,000 of taxpayer money to get the house repainted because his wife didn't like the color. So he charged $49,000 to the taxpayers to repaint the house. I got good old parents cousins. Let's see if this is working or if you're scratchy.
Cousins from Ring of Fire and Fair and Balance, sitting in for David Pakman once again today. And folks, I don't know if you know this, but we had a big football match on Sunday. It was super. No, seriously though, the Super Bowl was, of course, Sunday evening. Kind of a lackluster game, depending on who you were going for, but just in general, if you weren't going for either team, you just wanted to see a good game, you saw a blowout. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about is the fact that, of course, the President of the United States, on the taxpayer's dime, attended the Super Bowl in New Orleans. He did not have a good time. In fact, he left the game early. It was a bit of a blowout, but he left the game early to get on Truth Social to attack Taylor Swift. And, of course, to attack pennies in a separate post. But anyway, Donald Trump got on Truth Social following his early departure from the Super Bowl on Sunday and had this to say. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift.
She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. So in case you're not familiar with what happened, Taylor Swift inside the stadium was shown on the Jumbotron at one point. And yes, members of the crowd booed. Just like when Donald Trump was introduced at the game, members of the crowd booed. I noticed he didn't put that little factoid in his Truth Social post, but Taylor Swift did get booed. Now, she didn't, as Trump said, get booed out of the game. There were some people in the audience who booed her. Maybe they were MAGA, or maybe, far more likely scenario here, they knew that Taylor Swift, a former Philadelphia Eagles fan, was pulling for the Chiefs. And they, the people booing, wanted the Eagles to win. So it would make sense for the people booing, not because of her political beliefs, but because she was going for the opposing team, and they don't like that. If you've ever been to literally any live professional sporting event, that's what happens with the other team. When the other team runs out onto the field or onto the basketball court, they get booed by the home team. So when you take an event like the Super Bowl and you got a lot of Eagles fans down there, they booed her because she's basically part of the Chiefs. That's a very simple explanation and the most logical explanation of what happened. But what Trump also doesn't realize is that just a couple months ago, for several nights in a row, Taylor Swift packed the Superdome in New Orleans as part of her concert tour. It was so loud that you could feel the shaking of the stadium outside the stadium. Do you know how I know that? Do I have to actually admit it? I was there. So trust me, Taylor Swift doesn't have any issue with the people in New Orleans hating her. They showed very clearly for, again, several nights in a row that they absolutely loved her. You, on the other hand, Donald Trump, you got booed. You didn't mention that. You've been booed at every sporting event that you've gone to by at least some group of people. So, again, not uncommon. But here's what gets me about this whole thing. This man, this geriatric president of the United States, most powerful person on the planet, next to Elon Musk, apparently, but decided to get on his social media outlet and attack one of the biggest pop stars the planet's ever seen. Why? Because he's mad she endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris instead of him. Still, even though he won. That's how petty he is. That's how small he is. That's how disturbed he is. Like, we should demand better from our leaders. We don't want vengeful, petty little troglodytes running the country, or at least we shouldn't. But that is apparently what we have. Now, as I mentioned, he also went on a tear about pennies a little while later, right? Like, I've attacked Taylor Swift, now let me go after the pennies. And he said that he was going to abolish pennies because it does actually cost more to make a penny than a penny is worth. So maybe in the near future, we're going to have the abolition of pennies in the United States, which economists actually say would not be a smart move because it could cause rapid sudden inflation, because prices would have to be rounded up because you wouldn't be able to give pennies as check. So it's a weird thing, but it's also a weird random thing for him to suddenly get mad about. It was weird for him to be mad about Taylor Swift, but it's even weirder to be mad at pennies. I mean, did somebody give him some change after he bought concessions and he was like, get rid of these forever for everyone? I don't know. But all I do know is that based on his attitude after leaving the game and the fact that he endorsed the Chiefs to win, Trump did not have a very super football Sunday.
Once again, Donald Trump's cabinet picks are all about loyalty over expertise. Election denier Carrie Lake to lead Voice of America, the government-funded broadcaster meant to report unbiased news. Ground News found hundreds of articles covering this story, which is an app I've trusted for years to help me critically analyze the news I consume. Our sponsor, Ground News, doesn't tell you what to think. They show you each news outlet outlets' biases, credibility,
Yep,
financial
Heather, it's all facts.
incentives, so you know who's benefiting from the spin they put on each story. You can even filter out certain sources you don't want, so you can stay informed without getting buried in the noise. Trump is shaping our future in ways that will last decades. And if we're not paying attention, we will allow history to repeat itself. So stay engaged with Ground News, who is fixing what is breaking right in front of us: the trust and transparency in the media. Ground News is giving my audience 50% off the same Vantage plan that I use. Go to ground.news/Pacman. The link is in.
Hey, Soul Child. How you doing? Yeah, it's freaking YouTube messing up tonight. You doing okay, Soul Child? I'm doing pretty good. Trying to get this second channel off the ground. It's a political channel. Let's see if I can do this. Yes, I'm looking healthier. Thank you, Soul Child. Oh, you've been lurking, huh, Aquarius? Yeah, I know most don't touch the topic. I mean, it's hard to talk politics in the true crime community, so that's why I figured, that's why I figured I would just go ahead and have my main channel, which is True Crime Unraveled, and then I would have this separate channel when I want to talk about politics, which is the Patriot Podcast. Yeah, I know it's hard, Heather. Especially with what's all going on in the world now. Um, oh yes, we do, Soul Child. We really need to talk politics, especially with what's going on right now. I don't know how much of you've been listening, Soul Child, but how Trump was saying on the campaign trail that he didn't know nothing about Project 2025, and he said it was too extreme and everything else. But if you look at these executive orders that he's signing, which is he has signed over 400, a lot of these executive orders is him implementing parts of Project 2025. Like the ending of the birthright citizenship, which technically is unconstitutional because it's enshrined in the 14th Amendment. And he's tried to end it via executive order, which is in Project 2025. Dismantling all these different federal agencies that he's trying to dismantle, that's in Project 2025. Like he wants to dismantle the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Association, what gives us heads up alerts through the National Weather Service for like hurricanes and storms and everything else. And he wants to dismantle that. And this Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, it's Elon Musk and like six kids that are like barely the age of 25. Like three or four of them is like 19, and yeah, they're all college graduates somehow. And it's just it's a very troubling time we're living in, because a lot of people say, yeah, they aren't even 25. A lot of people say that that we're living in the end times, which I don't know, but I was watching this gentleman last night. He was talking about um, prophecies that's being fulfilled as we speak, and I just feel that I'm not saying Trump's the Antichrist. I'm not saying that at all, guys, but I do believe that Musk is possibly the Antichrist, because he came over to this country. I think it was back in 2008 or 2009, and he came over here on a student visa, so he could learn. And basically, he got over here. He didn't even go to school. He launched it. Now, Tesla is not a brainchild of his. He bought Tesla. SpaceX is a brainchild of his, but at the same time, if you look at all these rockets of his that are like exploding after liftoff or exploding on reentry, the consumer the one that he just dismantled, the Consumer Protection Service, which saves Americans like $20 billion a year against fraud. And they were actually looking into Musk and into these companies, because he bought Twitter for $44 billion, and he basically turned Twitter into a hellscape. And now over there on Facebook, you have Mark Zuckerberg, who fired the internal fact-checking moderators, and he fired them, and he wants Facebook to go more right-leaning, which, I mean, Facebook's going to end up being a hellscape just like Twitter, because you're going to have rampant conspiracy theories on Facebook, because he fired the internal fact-checking moderators. So there's no more fact checkers on Facebook. But if you notice at the inauguration, who was the most prevalent people there that was sitting near Trump? Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, yeah, you can, Heather, you can. Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Soul Child. He's from South Africa. Musk is from South Africa. But there at the inauguration, you had Jeff Bezos, you had Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, the CEO of Google, and somebody else. I don't even hardly get on Facebook anymore, Aquarius. I mainly just use Messenger, because I feel if I want to get a hold of somebody, like my friends and family who's on Messenger, I think to myself, why do I even need to go on Facebook when I can just message them through Messenger? Uh, just like just like Discord. He accumulated his wealth. Um, I don't know how he accumulated the wealth. I know he's self-made. Um, I think what it was, Soul Child, is that he basically, when he got over here, he gamed the system, because he was an immigrant. At the time he came over here on a student visa. So that would make him an illegal immigrant. Well, while he was over here, he went ahead and got his citizenship. So I don't know where he got the money to buy Tesla, but he did develop SpaceX. I believe he developed SpaceX before Tesla. Oh yeah, I know how he got rich. Um, he helped create either Snapchat or PayPal, and then he sold the rights for a lot of money. I believe he helped create either Snapchat or PayPal when he got over here. Not Snapchat. Snapchat or PayPal. And when he got over here, he helped create it, and then he sold his rights to that for a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. And then once he got the money for that, he turned around and bought Tesla. And if you notice, guys, they they're wanting to deregulate EV mandates. They're wanting to deregulate EV mandates. Do you know why that is, though? Because you have, true, Soul Child. You have Ford, you have Toyota, you have a lot of these American car companies that's going to EV. And first thing Trump did on day one was get rid of the EV mandate. That's because Musk wants to be the only electric vehicle competitor out there. Yes, he wants to be the only one that has an electric vehicle on the road. And that's why there was a lot of electric vehicle charging stations that were supposed to be installed for Ford and Chevy and Toyota and Honda. Well, day one, Trump signed an executive order to have those halted, for those specific car dealerships. So what Elon Musk is now doing is he's trying to get Trump to have more Tesla charging stations put in across the country, because he don't like to compete with anybody. Yeah, and Doge. Here's the thing about Doge, guys. There's the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, but there's also a Doge coin. A crypto coin called Doge, and it's just kind of ironic that you have the Doge coin and Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. And Trump actually signed an executive order, and it was that the head of Goldman Sachs. He wants to create a cryptocurrency infrastructure. and he wants to create an AI infrastructure. Yes, I know, Soul Child. It's just yeah, and they wanted, they got this thing which made me think of the James Spader movie Stargate. They have this, they have this thing. They're one, it's called Project Stargate that they're developing. Yeah, it's called Project Stargate. So the only thing I can think of is the old James Spader movie from the 90s where you had those aliens that came through in the giant pyramid. And what this was weird to me is you're welcome, Heather, you're welcome. Um you have Doge, which is the six little henchmen of Musk. They've been they've been going to different federal agencies. Um, they somehow, Scott Bessent, who's the Secretary of the Treasury, turned over access to the U.S. Treasury payment system, and basically what that is, guys, the payment system. It has all of our data, our social security numbers, um, you know, income tax information. It has all of our information, all of our data in that payment system. And basically, a bunch of barely 25 little hackers uh, got administrative access to the payment systems at the Treasury. So they've been going, yes, our lives, Soul Child. Yeah, so they've been going through our personal data in the payment system there at the U.S. Treasury. I mean, luckily, a federal judge has indefinitely blocked Doge from accessing the payment system at the Treasury. But they were looking to see who got paid, where the payments went. Um, if there was like any DEI initiatives that were getting money from through the payment systems, and Trump just like blows it off. Like, oh well, we're weeding out corruption. No, you're not. You're not weeding out corruption. You're letting Elon Musk and his little Doge hackers destroy government because yeah, Doge dismantled the USAID, which sends out like food and everything else to third world countries. Like Ethiopia and Europe and some other places. They send out food and medicine and everything else. And do you know what this guy did, Trump? He cut funding to AIDS medication. Not over here in the United States, but over in Europe. He cut funding for AIDS medication. Just like he cut funding on day one for child cancer research. And just like day one, he I think it was the CDC. The CDC was ordered to stop communicating with the NIH and some other federal agencies. He wants to, because you have the avian flu going on, and there's a few people that died from the avian flu, and in Kansas City they're seeing the the biggest outbreak of tuberculosis in almost 100 years. And he had all that information that the CDC would relay to us, the American people. He had all that information cut off. He told the Health and Human Services to stop communicating with the NIH and stop communicating with the CDC. And anything like like the COVID-19, like the pandemic. They're talking that this avian flu, which is a mutated version of the H1N1 or the H1D1, and they're talking that could be another possible pandemic or epidemic if it's not controlled. They had some of the poultry farmers had to put down over 100,000 chickens because they had the avian flu. And that's why the price of eggs is so high, is because of the avian flu, and a lot of the chickens are being put down because they have it. Yes, it's a very scary time, Soul Child. It is. Okay, I'm listening still. I've been yapping a lot. Sorry. I'm so happy someone is doing this. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, Heather. Kiki and I did one last Sunday. Well, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before last. But I just feel that people have a right to know exactly what's going on in the political landscape. And it's, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like to touch the fact that that Donald Trump is our president. Well, I mean, I didn't vote for him, but at the same time, the person I voted for, the votes went to Trump. It was RFK Jr., and I kind of wish I would have, I wish I wouldn't have voted for him. I wish I would have voted for Kamala. Yeah, because there's a viral clip on TikTok where Trump actually admits that Musk rigged the election for him, and it has over like 1.2 million views on TikTok. I'm not I'm not saying that he didn't win the election fair and square, but there's a lot of irregularities in the election itself. And the Senate is actually the Senate on the Democrat side are actually wanting to audit the election, because I mean, if you look at it, guys, really, if you look at it, you had 77 million people vote for Trump, and you had 74 million people vote for Harris. I just have a question. Where'd the other 13 million go? Because Trump says it was a landslide victory. I mean, how do you figure it was a landslide if you only won by 2 million votes? That's the thing. If you only won it by 2 million votes, how could it be a landslide? Is it because 13 million people didn't vote because they didn't like either candidate? I mean, don't give me that. Harris, she only had 90 days to get her campaign off the ground. 90 days. And personally, I think in that 90-day time, she actually did a pretty good job getting her campaign off the ground. Now, did she make a wrong pick with Tim Walz as vice president? Yeah, possibly. and because of some of his controversial statements, like wanting to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. Oh, who? Trump or Walls? Now, I don't believe that that salute that Elon Musk gave was a Roman salute. If you look at it, it was a freaking Nazi salute that Elon Musk gave on stage while Trump was being inaugurated. When Kash Patel was up there speaking, and when Kash Patel came up and was speaking after Musk, that didn't look like no Roman salute to me. That looked like a freaking Nazi salute. And I mean, if you look at Musk, yeah, it was that close. Soul Child. Now, Heather, if you look at it, Musk is trying to interfere in a German election now, and there's this very right wing party over there in Germany. It's almost neo-Nazi. It's called AfD, and Musk is trying to get AfD elected over there in the West German, over there in the Germany Parliament, by flooding the zone over there in Germany with tons and tons of cash, trying to get AfD nominated. And if you look at the election over here, if you look at the elections over here, he spent $290 million on Trump to get him elected. And do you realize while Elon Musk is in Doge, how much money he's making? It's a complete conflict of interest because he has government contracts. Yeah, he has government contracts over here, and while he's working to cut back wasteful spending, yeah, he is making $20 billion in government contracts. While he's operating Doge, he is bringing in $20 billion a day. It's either a day or a week. Okay. I mean, I'll answer that question for you, Soul Child. Many are pushing this one world order. Not in our country, folks. Many have died for our rights. Yes, there are people. Talking about the new world order or the one world government. It's not going to happen now, but eventually, later on down the line in the future, the United States, we will be a part of the one world government or the new world order. It's not going to happen now, but you have the director of the OMB, who is the chief architect of Project 2025. Okay, Heather. And he made the statement here about a couple of weeks ago when he was speaking somewhere that we are and we are now living in a post-constitutional America, and Americans need to learn to get used to the fact that we are now living in post-constitution America. And this is the main architect of Project 2025. He thinks that the Constitution is null and void now, which, I mean, honestly, I don't think it is. But if you look at what's going on, with Trump, everything he's doing is unconstitutional. And like, he's supposed to give Congress 30 days before he fires federal workers. He's not doing that. He's trying to purge the federal government of federal workers so he could put his little political cronies in those positions. Just like he fired 17 inspectors generals, which is unconstitutional. He's not allowed to do that, but he did it anyway. Because he thinks that he's above Congress, even though it's supposed to be a co-equal branch of government, with the presidency, the House, and the Senate, and the judiciary. But I don't, I feel like we're heading on a bullet train to the end of the world. And Trump is, I mean, I hate to say it, Trump is sending us to hell in the handbasket. As per the Second Amendment in the Constitution, it says no president shall serve more than 2 terms. There is a Tennessee congressman who came out with a bill. Who came out with a bill to amend the Constitution to allow Trump to serve a 3rd term. You was thinking about what, Soul Child? But yeah, Troy Ogles of Tennessee is drafting a bill to amend the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution to where Trump could serve a 3rd term. And I don't know exactly how that's going to fly, but the world would not survive a 3rd Trump term. It wouldn't. It would not survive a 3rd Trump term. And he was asked if he would endorse J.D. Vance when it came time. Congress would have to vote on that, Soul Child, and it would need 2/3 of Congress. And trust me, you don't have 2/3 of Congress on it. As we speak, the Republicans in the House have the smallest majority in 100 years. They only have a 3-seat majority. And there's 3 vacant seats there in the House right now. And there's 3 special elections coming up. 2 in Florida, because Matt Gaetz gave up a seat when he was trying to become Attorney General and he failed miserably. So yeah, his seat's open. Another seat in Florida is open, and then a seat in New York's open. And the Democrats are hoping to flip those 3 seats, which would basically tie up the House. So instead of being 214 to 216, it would be it would be like they would be tied 217, 217. So I'm hoping and I'm praying the Democrats can actually get those 3 seats flipped to blue, because if they can do that, then they would be able to stop uh, anything Trump tries to put out. His entire agenda would come to a screeching halt. But you have a lot of these Democratic congressmen that are taken to the streets to try to stop Trump's agenda. And Trump made the statement that if it gets too bad out in the streets, he may declare martial law. Which he cannot do. He cannot declare martial law. And I read a story earlier, and it's sad, Soul Child. It's sad that a lot of those violent immigrants that's coming into America, which I believe there's some are violent, but there's some not. They are with these deportation raids that Tom Homan's doing. Now, mind you, Tom Homan's not appointed to the government. He is an unappointed border czar, and they are sending these migrants to Guantanamo Bay. The same place. Where they send the vilest of terrorists like Al Qaeda and ISIS and all of them. Yeah, these migrants are getting sent to Guantanamo Bay, and when they run out of room in the prison, they're building a tent city right next to the prison. And mind you, that's also in Project 2025. It's basically what they're doing is they're building concentration camps for migrants over there in Cuba or in at Guantanamo Bay. But see, you have a lot of people that don't believe Trump is putting out Project 2025, when all they need to do is go and look at the actual playbook, and then look at his executive orders. His executive orders line to a T with Project 2025. Yeah, they line to a freaking T. And it's sad. Going behind the camera while I smoke. And this Soul Child, it's I don't think America has any idea exactly who they voted for. He's already done stated he don't know if he could ever get grocery prices down. Or no, he said it would be a hard time getting grocery prices down. Even though he ran on lowering grocery prices, lowering the price of eggs, lowering the price of gas, no tax on tips. Now, see, that no tax on tips wasn't his idea. It was somebody else's. But yeah, now he's saying he don't know if he can lower the price of groceries or eggs or gas. So he basically lied to get elected. And personally, I don't think he was okay. What can we do to help Soul Child? Personally, I don't think he's legitimate. If what I'm hearing is true, and that's a sad state of affairs. Okay, what can we do to help? I have a house with 9 people, and it's a struggle with the groceries. Yeah, I know. I have a house of 3 people, and it's a struggle with groceries. I mean, someone suggested to me on my TikTok that we start growing our own vegetables. Oh, okay. Personally, Soul Child, the only thing I think we can do to help is vote blue because because what I'm seeing out of the Democrats, I mean, you have a lot of these right wingers that say the Democrats are lunatics and da 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 da. What I'm seeing out of the Democrats is they actually care about the American people, where you have the Republicans who are in charge who don't care about the American people, who are trying to gut Medicaid, who are trying to dismantle the Department of Education. Uh, I was watching TikTok last night, and this woman said it very clearly and very frankly. We don't have working government right now. We have a coup. What's going on in the federal government with Trump and Musk and everybody else? It's a coup. They're trying to dismantle a functioning government so they can turn it into a dictatorship. That's not a president. That's not functioning government. It's a coup going on. And yes, I know it is scary, Soul Child. I'm going to see if I get a hold of Swamp. She not answering. But I'm gonna. Let's see how the audio is on this one.
We have a treatment that's 60% effective. It wouldn't be valid for me to say, don't get the treatment. It's only 20% effective. You'd say, David, it's been 20 years. We have better treatment at this point. And similarly, that 21% lost vote rate is based on a survey where non-voters were asked, why didn't you vote? And the MIT paper itself acknowledges it's almost certainly an exaggeration because a lot of people don't like to admit, I just didn't vote. That it's self-reported. And the architects of that study say a bunch of these people are claiming I didn't, I did vote, but it wasn't counted, or I didn't get a ballot. A whole bunch of those people just didn't vote because they chose not to vote. And if you acknowledge even a 10% inflation there, the argument also falls apart. Now, finally, Palast claims that voter suppression, he ties all of this together like the weave, and he says voter suppression cost Kamala Harris 3.6 million votes. That would have flipped the election in her favor. He doesn't break that down. He just doesn't break down how he arrived at that number. He says, well, I've got this 2008 rejection number. If Greg Palast were to say, we have a 0.8% ballot rejection rate, which is what we had in 2020, if he acknowledges that some of the whole lost vote thing is people not wanting to admit, I just simply didn't vote. If you do all of those adjustments, you can't possibly.
So do I. I'm
with
trying to get a hold of her.
Votes lost for Harris. And I would even take it a step further. Even if you could acknowledge, or if you could defend the total number of lost votes, he is extrapolating a lot to tell us how many of those lost votes would have been lost for Harris rather than Trump. This is the same problem the 2020 Trump people have. They go, oh, there were vans with ballots and massive dumps and more voters than people, more votes than voters. Even if all of those claims have been wrong from the MAGA people. But even if many of those claims were correct, it still isn't demonstrated that it helped one candidate over the other. And because Greg Palast's estimate for how much more likely non-white voters are to have ballots rejected are completely overblown, I just don't see anything here of real substance other than conjecture. Now, I want to acknowledge voter suppression is real. Voter suppression is ongoing in the United States. It does disproportionately affect communities of color. But Greg Palast is overstating the impact of that in 2024. He is extrapolating and using older data when apparently convenient. And I cannot honestly come to you and say, I can back up the data or even corroborate the data that Greg Palast is asserting. And I can't be on board with the extrapolations and conjecture that he is putting forward. And in fact, one of the things we know from a lot of this stuff is 2008 data, 2016, etc. What we know from the exit polling is that voter enthusiasm for Democrats was down. Economic conditions, or the belief about them, influenced many voters to either stay home or vote for Trump, who otherwise might have been Democratic voters. That we know from the exit polling. And Greg Palast is giving us extrapolated data, in some cases based on 16-year-old statistics. For me, it's not convincing. If I'm missing something, here's my challenge to you. Get me actual sourced data for what happened in 2024, or recalculate his analysis based on the known disproportionate rejection rate for Black and Hispanic voters and the more recent mail-in ballot rejection rate, and then tell me where we come out. I think it's simple arithmetic, and you would not be able to conclude that Kamala Harris really won this election. That's where I'm landing.
Once again, we're seeing big tech blur the lines between private industry and public government. Zuckerberg, Bezos, even Sam Altman at OpenAI are donating millions to Trump's inaugural fund because they say
he'll lead our country into the age of AI, despite these same tech CEOs warning about how dangerous AI can be. Algorithms control what we see every day to serve corporate and political interests, which is why I've trusted Ground News for years to help me find the truth. Ground News doesn't tell you what to think. They show you each news outlet's biases, credibility, financial incentives, so you know who's benefiting from the way each news outlet spins each story. You can even filter out certain sources you don't want and stay informed without getting buried in the noise. Stay engaged with Ground News, who is fixing what is breaking right in front of us: trust and transparency in the media. Ground News is giving my audience 50% off the same Vantage plan.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. I got to go tuck my daughter in. She's asking me to come tuck her in. Soul Child, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to start putting out more political shorts and videos, and I may do a live a couple of days a week. I'm still debating that. So make sure you keep your eyes open, Soul Child, to the new channel, and you have a good night, Soul Child. Peace out.